Filmmaking is almost never linear. Strike that, it's never linear. If there's one thing I'd like to leave you with today, it's that a film can and will forever change its form, sometimes becoming a shell of what originally drew you to that nugget of an idea. Whether that's a good or bad thing is completely subjective. But before we go, if you haven't seen Copy, tons of spoilers are ahead, so go watch it right now. Copy started as a much different film. Originally, its concept was simple. We wanted to make something fun, easy, and creepy to release on YouTube a few months after releasing It Visits Me. Over the next month of prepping, rewriting, and ultimately shooting, its form evolved as we found ourselves wanting more from it. Copy's original plot was about a woman working in a black box science lab, accidentally copying herself with a photocopier, creating an inverted, alternate version of herself. It leaned very heavy into the science fiction and featured a slithering tale, which, of course, never happened. So how did it become such a different story about a pregnant woman whose fear of becoming her own mother is at the heart of it? Day one of shooting was all about the scary moments, and in particular, the hallway scenes. We began with Heather checking to see if there were things were off, and we shot everything that took place in that hallway. And at this point, there was no creepy talking from the intercom, just all slowly packing up. All of this was working towards that original sci-fi concept. After wrapping day one, we still had lots to complete on day two. Mainly the stairs of the landing where she would begin retreating from the staircase, as well as the photocopier shots that would intro and close the film. But the more that Jeremiah and I watched the footage and stewed on what we had, we felt like we were missing something. It was creepy, for sure, but it didn't have a ton of character, and there really wasn't anything personal about the story. So over the next 2 weeks, we would regroup and get ready for day two and revise the script with the idea of, what does copy mean? Not literally what does copy mean, but why is copying interesting? What makes it different? So thinking backwards can often be fun. I find myself doing mazes in reverse all the time, ultimately knowing where I have to end in one place, but the fact that there were usually a million ways to get there. Now, maybe not in a maze, but in a film, there definitely are. So after thinking, we came up with a new idea about how having children is basically becoming a copy, right? Copying ourselves. What that meant was the anxieties that came along with it. You don't exactly want to be like your parents, but sometimes you find that you can't escape the torturous fate of being just like them. An image of who you could or might be staring directly at you in the mirror or backing you down a long haul. I'd love to tell you that this was all some elaborate plan from the beginning, but in reality, I think this is what makes filmmaking so interesting. Slowly, and in reverse, we were able to add the backstory to our character and why all of these moments mattered on a personal level, and not just for the fun and gag of the scare. During day two, we filmed all of the long opening monologue where Heather would look at herself in the mirror, terrified of becoming her mother, and listening to her sister try to convince her otherwise. Later, we would shoot the photocopier intro, focusing more on her spiraling mental health as she thought more and more about what this could mean for her future and if she would doom the baby to the same fate that she felt her and her sister had to endure. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're some masterful filmmakers and that Copy is some sort of masterpiece, but for me it was a great learning experience as to how important it is for having a character who feels real and has real feelings. If we can't connect with our character and their anxieties, then why are they there at all? Why does their story matter? It matters because we as an audience want to care. We want to see them succeed. In the end, we get to see Heather face to face with becoming her mother, head on, ultimately silencing the thoughts of her doubt and literally putting her family problems back on the shelf. I've seen some people not like or really understand the ending, and I totally get that, because that's what I think it makes stories like this fun. It can be a fun, scary roller coaster ride, or it can be something more for someone else. I saw one comment from a person who was a new parent that said this really hit home for them, and for me, that one comment made making the film all worth it. Of course, I can think of a million things I could have done better, always, and ways I could have improved upon the film, but overall, I still think making Copy was an incredible learning experience for me in how and why stories work, and how our need and want for human connection inside of a story is what makes horror, and in particular filmmaking, such an important medium. So work backwards, don't forget that you can do that, and a story is never finished until it's out there. So thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe.